Good afternoon, everyone. For many years, my illustrious guests were shining on some of the brightest stages of European and world football. Together, they won, if my mathematics are correct, 42 titles for country and club. But then came the moment that they decided, I have to stop playing, time's up. And they all had to think about what to do next. During this session, we're going to talk about that transition from athlete to post-playing professional. What were some of your biggest challenges in making that transition? What have been some of your biggest successes so far? And share some insight maybe into what current athletes should be thinking about as they start to approach the end of their careers, and some of the pitfalls, some of the opportunities there could be for them. From the program, you will be able to see what a lot of our guests are doing these days. I told them before we came out here that I would ask them to explain what they do, but maybe it's easier if I just say what your current titles are. So starting with Paulo, he still works at Chelsea, where he won a Champions League and a Europa League, and the Premier League as well, obviously. Now he's working with the Lone Player, so Lone Player technical coach at Chelsea. Christian, as a player, we all know what you did. If you don't Google him right now. He is currently an investor and board member at a company called Sports.online, and he's sporting director at Olympiacos, among other activities which you have. Nuno Gomes, Portuguese legend, obviously now as a Portuguese League ambassador with us here today, also worked with Benfica after retiring at the academy, and then he'll share more details on what he's doing these days as well. Louis Saha, star at United and France, obviously, and then going on to create his own company, Axis Stars, which we'll be talking about. Last but definitely not least, just because you're closer to me.
That's fine.
Don't take it. Don't take it.
I'm with legends here. I know that. It's good.
And also because you're actually the last one to have retired.
Yeah, 3 months. So
exactly.
I'm also excited to listen to what these guys have to say.
I hope you are.
Yeah.
Is Ella Masser, sorry.
Got it. No.
Who played many years professionally at the top level in the women's game, is now a Common Goal ambassador and participant, and will also be sharing her plans on what she's going to do in her future career and how it differs to be a woman professional making that transition compared to a man professional making that transition. So pleasure to have you all here. I'll shut up now and I'll give the floor to you. First question has to be, as successful as you were during your respective careers, how did you feel the day after you announced your retirement?
You want to start for me?
I don't know.
Open floor. You go first.
Yeah,
The ladies. We say ladies first, yeah, true, yeah.
No, it's okay. I'm new to this, so you go first. I'll go.
So basically, I think that you have that different motivation. Every player has got some kind of motivation based on winning trophies, like being famous, being like in center of attention. All this is like motivation. But when these things, toward the end of your career, it fades a little bit, you feel like your mojo has gone. Your opportunities has gone, and it's hurting, because you see youngsters are quicker and faster, and I don't like that as a competitor. And basically, the day where you actually feeling that kind of things is going, you're realizing that basically it's a relief, because I'm not someone who's going to lie to myself and say, I can do this and achieve this, and doing things on a purpose that I didn't like. So it could be money, it could be the fame or things like this. I wasn't looking for that. So I stopped in a natural way, and I feel, this is my sentiment, it was a relief, because you can say that sometimes it could be a sacrifice, because when you do something, it's an effort, it's not something that you think that you are identifying yourself with it. You don't like it anymore as much as you were younger. So I felt like it was my time. So I just felt like the next day, like taking really a grateful feeling being with my kids, like seeing things in a normal way as a human being again. Very normal stuff was like bigger in my eyes. So taking time, breathe, all this is like really important to me during my career, but it was now an extension. I could like really breathe and enjoy a bit more. So let's say that competition-wise was like really hard because I wanted to compete. I see my boys like still like winning games, scoring goals. You're jealous of that still now, but you realize that it's a lot of effort to get there. Whatever, it could be a big derby games, you want to be part of it. I mean, your time is like, put yourself on the side and respect what the game gives to the fans.
Who wants to go next regarding your feeling after you decided to call it quits? And like you put it, Ella, before we came out here, when the lights go out.
Yeah, I think, I obviously did not play in front of 90,000 on a regular basis. I think what I miss the most is the locker room, and I think these guys can also say that the things that happen in the locker room and the conversations that you have and what you have with these women, it's something that you don't kind of get anywhere else, or what I've kind of learned. And of course, your ego is hurt a bit because all these people want to hear and what you want to say, and then all of a sudden you're off, and then it's like this. And I think for men, of course, it's a lot different because you have so much money invested in it and put into your career. But for women, it's the same. It's a question of, okay, what do I have next? Who's here? What's my path? I was talking to Paulo about this. It's very important as a player that you should get your coaching license. So then maybe at the end, I've done this for 20 years. This is my passion. So it's not so hard of football's off. I don't want to do this. It's more of a progression out of the career.
Paulo, Christian, Nuno, who wants to talk about what you felt the day after you...
We follow this harder. Good afternoon, everybody. I really have to speak in English, Pedro?
Yes, you do.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes, you do. It's good.
I will try.
It's good. Try. It's good.
No, but I think both answers from Luis and Hella, I only know that the feeling of Ella, I'm sad to say that, but after 6 or 7 years, I still feel that. So,
yeah, thank you.
Because I miss the locker room a lot. I think the most thing that I miss is the locker room and the days of being a footballer. Because it's even I think every person has his own way to deal with the things, the situation. If you ask all over, you can write a book with all the different sentences that each one has to say. Because I never thought about the day that I will quit, because I was like throwing away that feeling, that thought, because I don't want this to end. So I think we are, even if we say that we are ready, we are not ready, because the change is drastic from night to day. In one day, everything changes. And the thing that missing the locker room, for example, in the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was like going to the gym just to have shower in a locker room, instead of having shower at home, because I wasn't feeling comfortable. Why am I showering at home? Where is everybody? So it's totally different, and sometimes it's hard for people that don't have the right mindset. And we saw some of ex-colleagues that they got in depression, for example, and it's not easy to deal if you are not ready, and if you are not if you don't find a way to distract yourself about that thought. I knew that that day will come, and I knew also that I didn't want to be a coach, for example. Yeah. It's everyone has that one feeling. During my career, I always said, no, I don't want to be a coach. I don't want to be I want to be involved in football when I finish, but I don't want to be a coach, because for me, it's even not hard, but it's like a worst life as a player. A coach has a worse life as a player, because the coach, as a player, you have training sessions and then you go home. As a coach, you have training sessions and you have to stay to prepare the next day and everything. But my idea was always to get involved in the football, not as a coach. But it's not easy to prepare. And nowadays you have a lot of people that works that into young footballers. And my advice is for a young footballer, because when we are football, we don't think about nothing else. We don't think about future. And now there's a lot of companies, a lot of persons involved that alert these young footballers to think about what they want to do. And sooner you prepare, sooner you will be ready for the next step.
True. Christian? Yeah.
Me, I have another itinerary. So I come from an island, so I wasn't dedicated to be a footballer. And all my family is in teaching. All my families are professors or teachers, and so far I learned to be a footballer when I come to Europe at age of 17 years old. And I retired myself when I was 34, 17 years after I retired myself. Also because I wanted to have a balance between my body and my career. And of course, I was fortunate to have quick opportunities to rebound. For example, in France, I had this opportunity to be a presenter for documentaries, where I learned about it, to be far from football, far from my environment. But lately, my passion drive me back to my environment, meaning football. And that's why I'm also very, very proud of my itinerary. But so far, nobody, and we are not prepared to retire, because through our passion, through our commitment, nobody can understand that one day we will stop. And that's why I said I was fortunate to have opportunities to rebound and to make something different, and where I be able to how we say that to survive, because I know that many of us somehow lost a pathway after career, and that's why. Today we are here to talk about how we are now today, how we started to retire. But the idea, nobody of us could think that, okay, we need to anticipate. I think it's a way now to debate or to understand that clubs also have the duties, the responsibility to share this idea of retirement, because otherwise we are lost. So, like I said, I was very fortunate.
Yep. No, I think everyone said good things here about that, and but it's always, it's never easy, to accept, that day that you have to say, that's it, I'll stop playing football. But in the end, we never stop, because we always have, charity games, we always, so we all have a time to be together and play and enjoy on a different level. But it's always hard, We know that day will always, will come, and the problem will be that what will gonna happen after. I remember on my last year, Roberto Di Matteo was telling me, Paulo, start doing your coaching levels. And I say, I don't know, Rob, if it's for me. I don't know if I want to become a manager or not. I think because of my personality, being a very quiet person, whatever, I don't think it will be for me. But it was always, at that time telling me, Paulo, do it now, start doing now. So when you retire, you might have your diploma, and then you never know what can happen, And for me, I was not thinking about that, because I wanted to play a bit more. So, and the truth is that when that day came, in one way, it was nice because finally I could have a nice holiday, a fantastic, long summer with the family, which, for most of us is quite difficult because you have all these pre-seasons, or you have World Cups, and you have Euros, and this, and, so it's quite difficult to have a long holiday with the family. So I enjoy quite a lot. But then is when you start missing, the football. After a while, then it's hard. And for me, was straight away to start doing my coaching levels. I say I'm start doing my coaching levels because I need to prepare myself. I need to be ready if something come. I'll be ready to start. So fortunately, I was doing my coaching levels and using the Chelsea Academy. I playing 9 years at the club. The club had the loan department and need more staff, to help because we had quite big number of players. And at that time, Eddie Newton was the person in charge of the loan department. He saw on me maybe someone that could be, helpful in terms of helping the young players and also like for my development as well as a manager if I want to become a manager, because you have to know the players, you have to talk with the players individually, you have to talk with sporting directors, you have to talk with the managers. So this makes also part of that, coaching and manager. I mean, and I find quite interesting, and I start doing that job, and of course, that's why I have to say thank you to Chelsea, because that's what Karimbo was saying about the clubs to also be a bit responsible and on supporting players that they've been in a club, and for me, fortunately, because I played so many years, and I was also very close to young players as well. When the young players were training with the first team, I was always helping and pushed them as well, and they saw me, someone that could be very useful on that department, and I've been now for 4 years, and I've been enjoying a lot. But like we're talking, it's quite hard, when that moment comes. But it's when you have to, to accept it and move on. Some they prepare themselves quite well, before. So when they stop, they know exactly what they want. I play with so many players that they were saying that no, I'll never become a manager, and today they are managers. So we know it's not for all of them. Not everyone will become managers, directors, scouts, whatever. But one thing I knew that I want to be involved in football, because I love the game, and if you look here, there's so many knowledge here in this room, and I was happy to to stop and then keep working for the club and help the club as well, and also pass now a bit of my experience to the young players.
All of you earned your credibility as players on the field throughout your careers, but then all of a sudden that ends and you start your own businesses, for example, like Louis, Nuno, and Christian. What was harder about starting a second career? Because one thing is for people to know who you are and want to take pictures with you and want to talk to you about your stories as a players, right? Another thing is for them to respect you as professionals in another environment. So how has that been, and what was toughest for you in order for people to take you seriously? Because whether we like it or not, sometimes footballers are seen as, okay, they're very talented, they work very hard, and then what, right? So how did you get people to understand that they now needed to respect you as businessmen or as professionals outside the field? It can be extended to everyone, but focusing on you three.
Go ahead.
So yeah, for me, it was based on the passion that I had. Every time I do something, I do 100%. But when you jump from a sport where it seems like I was controlling what's gonna come. I've got some quality. I was fast. I was like very aggressive and all that. So I know that if I work really hard, I get my result. I get my chances in the game. It was in my head up to me and my teammates.
Okay.
But in business, when starting to actually go through the process of like selling something that an idea or whatever, a product, you have that process where actually you really have to understand that it's longer. It's not up to you. It's not just it's up to the customer, it's up to many factors that you need to understand. And that's why people go into that process of education, MBAs, to help you to have the right vocabulary, the right manners. All those things are not only down to your confidence, you know. It's, if you can come and say the right things, still it's like a lot of factors. So those steps in terms of like trying to get the credibility as a businessman was hard because yes, you have a cliche. You could be a football player or any sportsman. Obviously, they don't respect as much because they don't see the pedigree as a businessman. People went to courses and done 6-7 years like masters and all that, and they're facing now a sportsman. They're looking at you and say, listen, I'm going to start speaking this way, and I'm sure this is going to be lost. I was like facing some like resistance in some ways.
Right.
But because I was so passionate and so sure about my product, I was like gaining like that credit, and some like as maybe said, is it your business? No, like it was like not possible to come from a sportsman. So I had that kind of reaction. But in terms of like that transition, it's like, of course, you have to understand that it's a learning process in life, and especially football teach me a lot of things, you know, about like perseverance, resilience in so many ways. Like when you get an injury, I had so many injuries, I had to get back on my feet and work hard and again. And business is the same. I think you can face someone and say to you, oh, your product is not good at all. Let's say like they didn't respect it, they think that you're not at it at all. But you have to get back on your feet again and make yourself like big again and really respected. And I think it's more important about the idea sometimes is the resiliency because you're still learning. So this is something that I pick from my sport values that I get from my managers, from my teammates, and from, of course, the fans, because how much passionate you are and you trust your product, people will feel it. And that's the beauty of sport. It teaches me a lot. And I never doubt. And I think that's maybe the weakness when we say about retirement, all of us, is like we are not formatted to show weaknesses. I mean, like, I can't show weaknesses to my teammates. I can't show weaknesses to my manager. Otherwise, he don't pick me. He will pick someone else, you know? So this is like really hard. Even toward the end, I don't want to show to your youngsters that he's better than me or is faster. You are a competitor. So sometimes it's really hard to show weaknesses toward the end and say, oh, I have this issue, and I need maybe to learn. So many people take a lot of time to realize that they have to have that process of learning. And sometimes it's even harder because you had that process of learning a job with your sport, and now you have to do it again. A lot of sacrifice when maybe your brain is saying, please, can you let me breathe again? Just a little bit. And this is another process. So if you find your passion, it really helps. It really helps to do that transition between sport and business. So that's why I find really useful. But it's not the case for everybody. You can have like a lot of doubts, and it doesn't help.
Well,
Nuno, Christian, maybe share your thoughts on that transition and gaining credibility in a completely different environment.
yeah, because I think even now people they look at the footballers like okay, he's a very good talent with the ball, and I think maybe some of the football industry agents, they don't look to the footballers that serious after retirement because they look at them like a guy or a girl who played football with a lot of talent, but okay, it's enough. So when I stopped football, I had the luck and the chance to start to work in the club in Benfica. At the beginning, as international relationships, was like representing the club abroad. Is more institutional than other things. And in that moment, because I had a lot of free time, I decided that okay, I need to go back to the school. So I went to school, I went to university, because I knew that for people to take me serious, I had to have also to add to my professional career some experience in terms of academic experience. So I made a degree in sports management with some of the guys that are here present, and I made also an MBA with UEFA, with Christian, UEFA MIP for ex-international players. I made also in Portuguese FA that is bumping a lot, Portuguese football school now. I made also with them. And while I was studying, I changed my position in the club to general manager of the youth academy. So I was a little bit more prepared to that function, to that job, because it requires more demands. And after that, I think I'm prepared to do whatever I choose to do in terms of sports organization. So I think we have the experience to be a footballer. We have the chance to become a coach, but as Paulo said, not all the football players that were very good football players, they will not become a very good coach. You need to also study to add to your experience as a football coach. In the other areas is also the same. You need to combine the experience. I think is an extra value to be a footballer, to have the experience in the pitch. It's an extra value for them who want to work in a sports organization.
You need humility, right, Christian, to know that you were the best or one of the best at doing something, but the next day you have to go back to zero a little bit.
Yes.
How did you convince people that they should do business with you?
I think that you earn the credibility, first of all, on the pitch. How you play, how you behave, how you are educated, and somehow you need to transform that from your pitch experience to the professional, if I may say, career, because we had a professional career as a footballer, and we cannot, if I may say that it wasn't a job description. It is a job description as a football players, and everybody needs to understand that if we are here in Soccerex to talk about football, we are also actors of this environment, of this industry, and we are belong to this industry to give also opportunity to everyone to be with us. And of course, when we talk about transition, because somehow the system say that we were not as a football professional or professional career, but we have this. We gain experience in the pitch, but as football professionals career. And now if we talk about the system of job career or job description, okay, now we are maybe investors, maybe directors, extra, but still we are in the business. And I think that we cannot make this kind of differences because, as you said, Nuno, true, it's an add value to have been in the pitch, because this experience, nobody have it. What we have done in the pitch is only footballers or maybe coaches who have that kind of values, and to understand and to transform that in business. Because when he talked about perseverance, resilience, we have been through, and we can adapt this to a professional or to a business model. And of course, what we have learned also is about team work. This is very key and very crucial, because today I can be with the company, but of course I believe in my managing director, I believe of my employees, because they need to deliver something better that I expect to be successful. It's the same as where we are in football, because we are a team. I was a midfielder, but I need to give him or him the ball to score, and we play and we win together or to lose together. And in business, the difference between this about credibility also is that every week we can lose or we can win. In business, it's another subject. Successful, you need to prepare. We are preparing also every day with a coach how to manage ourselves, how to behave, and to be together, to fit together, to sweat together for a goal. It's the same in the business.
Ella, talk to us about how challenging it is to be a woman footballer, and about how you've gone about your transition since you hung up your boots and taken your coaching license. How was that experience as well, and being constantly a minority?
Yeah, I think, all these guys have hit such good points, but I think it's, like you said, you have different passions that you start to realize when you never want to realize that you're retiring. But I think it's also a huge difference between women and men. I mean, who would guess as a 33-year-old woman, when you don't have a family, that is an age that you have to start thinking about if you want another family, if you want another chapter. For men's footballers, I think you can push it to the limits. And like Christian said, it was his decision to be body and mind empowered to move on. So I think there's a lot of challenges that we face that maybe are different than the men. But I also think it's about saying we have resilience, we have an idea of what we want to do, and that if one door closes, then we find another one that's open. So I think it's just about having an open mind. And then I think also as an American, you have a little bit of luck because you do your school before at 22. So then you have that as your groundwork compared to playing 17, 18 in Europe, and you have to go back to school. So it's kind of about navigating all of what they've said and then to use it in your own way and say, okay, I was a pro athlete. I have played in front of thousands. I've represented my country. I've been in Champions League finals. How can I use that to help what you have passion for and then to take the next step forward?
And what about working on coaching now? Because you also told me, if I'm not mistaken, you were the only woman when you were doing your license.
Yeah, I did my B license in German last month. And being in Germany only a year and a half, to do it in German is quite hard. But then you're surrounded by 23 men. But I think it's lucky. It's with most respect. I think men, once you earn their respect, you have it. And then once they look at you and you were a footballer, you've achieved this, then you go on the pitch and you can also show what you've done. You find a way to talk to them, and once you have their respect, then it makes it, I was lucky with a group of guys. And then you can move forward, and once the respect is there, it's okay.
There are studies that come out every once in a while talking about the struggles athletes have once they retire, whether it be mental health or whether it be specifically financial difficulties. There was a study last year by 442 magazine which said that up to 40% of professional footballers file for bankruptcy in the 5 years after they retire. What are the mistakes that players are making, and how can they improve on their post-retirement life, according to your experiences? And I'll start with Paulo, also because you work with young players now, and a lot has changed from the time you guys were playing to the new generation. So what are the mistakes players are making now, and what can they avoid? The people that are with them, the people that hang around them, the opportunities, challenges, temptations that are there. How is that environment?
I think it's a bit of all. It's hard when most of the players, or almost all, they came from a really poor background, so in these days there's more money now in football than before, and it can be quite dangerous as well. I know there's some boys that they earn good money, but for them, I think it's more the passion of playing football, and they want to play football than exactly the money. It's important, but they really want. And others that, of course, soon they start earning good money, they go to that comfort zone and they think that this will be now for the next, 15 years or something, but they don't know tomorrow. And what I normally tell to the young boys is to make sure they look after the money. I know it's hard for them, and like I was saying, when you came from a poor background and suddenly, for example, the parents, they see his son make a good contract, whatever, that they can take them out of that, whatever will be like the social or whatever, or small house or this, and to a much better lifestyle, then can become dangerous, and that's something that they need to be aware of that, of look after, his son's career or daughter, if she's also a footballer, because you don't know tomorrow. For me, from my experience, I always try to not give a step bigger than my legs. So you know, I say fortunately for me that my career was kind of progression, was progressive. So coming from the grassroots to a small professional club, then to the next one, and then to reach a big club, and then move, abroad. Looking back, I feel, I would say, quite happy and proud of that, because I wanted more. So I had to work for a better contract, where I could then start helping my family, and but not as we see now, with the players having too much money, and sometimes can become too dangerous. We know that it's difficult. For clubs.
Dangerous because they don't know how to spend it. They have too many people asking for it.
No, they know how to spend, because they will spend it. They will spend it, and I think it's important, for the parents, and maybe the agent as well, to help, because I think an agent is quite important on that first, like a step on the players, professional career as well. But it's not easy, and especially now. And I think you all agree where the big clubs, and I'm in England, and most of the clubs, they have money now, and they can pay to a young talented, to not lose them. So because they know if they don't give the money, someone else will come and will pay, and you don't want to lose a potential top player. So, but it's also like that gamble that you don't know if you're going to become or not, because that transition is not so easy and simple. And if you give too early, you might lose him. Or some of them not, but it's not easy, for that kind of situation of players, having big salaries at this young age. But I know they need to be careful. For sure, they have people that advise them as well, but sometimes it's the temptation, whatever, because they have access then to so many things that they want to have it as well, and then sometimes maybe they will not need it or whatever, but they want to have for nothing, and they need to be careful, because the career of a professional player can be also short. You can have injuries, you can have whatever bank situations. And you need to be careful and try to look after your money. That's where we tell the players, but it's not easy as well. Even give us a bit of our experience. Some of them, they might listen. Others maybe not. So it's not so easy and simple.
What mistakes do you see players making, Louis, Nuno?
I
Christian?
think that's pretty much, as Paulo mentioned, is a combination of mistakes. Basically, you could have the first one could be your entourage, who you walk in with, who can help you to invest correctly, or control your image, the way you put yourself, not on the field, because I think it's a part of the coaching to make you improve, but as a brand, because it's like you present yourself as a family member, you have a name, how we create a legacy. So make you be able to sell yourself after your career. So if you conduct yourself correctly, you can do this. So helping you to do that, it's sometimes, not so easy. You're young, you're able to make mistakes. So you could do that by buying bad stuff. I mean, buying silly cars, or let's say very expensive cars when you're 18 is not the best thing to do. If you take 2 or 3, it's even worse. So there is investment you could do on houses, and sometimes they could be wrong ones. Sometimes you can go into invest in certain business with a friend, with someone that you trust, but it's always in front of the whatever business, and you're not. So you get in a position where you become a bank, because you just put some money, and then the money is something to recover. And basically, if something is going bad, you still have to put money back inside. So stories like this, you can hear it from many players. You have maybe on the personal level, some that's normal. You make a choice of living with someone, then something happens. It happens to everybody. You lose some kind of stability. that's like a lot of mistakes like this, or like things of life that make yourself very fragile, because on the same time, because you are a player where you have like a value on the field. If you're playing well, some other clubs will want you, so it's unstable. You know, all those is choices. If you're playing not so well, another club may want you, maybe a lesser club. So all this is very, very hard to make choices because it's fear element everywhere. And just the first one, to have the right people around you, it's not easy. So that's why you really have to be careful during your career to open your eyes. Whatever the mission on the field is, yes, you have the opportunity because you are not stupid. You have time to actually sit on the sofa with your people and take control of your life, and maybe not so young, deciding about career or second career or stuff like this, but realize that you need to get informed. You need to get educated. There is like a lot of people that assume that just like giving the control to somebody else, you benefit from that. No, you will not be prepared at 33 or whatever when the injury could come to be able to actually react. If everybody is taking control of everything that you have, I think it's a big mistake. So the biggest mistake is not to try to get some kind of understanding of what's going on, who you are, what's going to happen next. So all those things, I think, is a process, and the coaches, the club, whoever is like able to help, like unions, to get the information is crucial. I mean, that's the biggest mistake. Is just a combination of things can really put you on the bankruptcy, but just one could make yourself a bit difficult, but that's it. So I think everybody will have like the different stories, but I think it's more about a combination and not getting the right advice at some point.
Nuno and Christian, we saw each other at the UEFA Masters for International Players, and both of you were participating in that course. Nuno, you mentioned about the value of going back to school. Is that something that you advise younger players, and in your respective roles, you were sporting director, and Nuno as well, because maybe you can talk a little bit about that as well, your role in advising younger players and working with players?
Well, you are older, my friend.
Please.
You are older.
I think it's part of our learning process. I say that I came in Europe and I learned to play football. It's same how to learn save money or to be a successful entrepreneur, whatever. It's part of our lives to learn about everything, to discover who is there, what is doing, what is the nation, what is the nature, extra. And today we talk about integration, inclusion, sustainability. But this is because we need to learn about this. We need to be educated about this. And when we are in that process to learn about the masters, first it was normal to be in that lessons because we want to be back in our environment, this industry here, football industry. If we are capable to manage, if we are capable to talk about figures, if we are capable to scout and to recruit players, this is our environment. But how we need to implement the process, how to transform our experience to be really successful, because we were on the pitch, now we were maybe in the offices or in this board, so ever, but still we need this, the know-how, the knowledge, and after to execute. And before we can do this with our feet, now we need to, it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
And with our brains, of course, but now we need to respond to the needs of clubs or companies. And yes, this is very, very crucial for us to learn again and to be part of the industry.
What about you, Nuno?
Wasn't easy. Well, it was easier to do the master along with the international football players, comparing to go back to the school. If I tell you about my first day in university, when I get into the room, the other students were looking at me like, what is he doing here? And after they confessed me that they thought there was a surprise of the teacher, that I was coming to have a speech to them or something. And after all, I became 3 years colleague, and it was very, very, very funny. And I learned a lot in those 3 years. And of course, was not easy because I left school when I was 16 years old, and I returned. I was 38, around 38, so it wasn't easy, but I loved it, and they gave me a lot of experience to be better prepared in the future. Christian said we as a footballers we had an idea and we use our legs to implement the idea. Now we have to use other things to implement and to set this strategy to achieve our goals, and or maybe the mission or the vision of the sports organization where we were working. So it's not easy, but we have the extra value. I told you already, and we have the extra value of being a footballer. Give us the extra value of experience. Regarding the money and saving money, and a lot of ex-footballers also from, I read it about NBA players also.
Yep. Yes. And NFL players as well.
Well, let me tell you, in Portugal, I think if we go to the professional football players that played in Portugal, they all need to work the months after they finish career. Most of them, 70-80% of the players that played in first league in Portugal, for sure, they need to work 1 month after they retire, because they don't save money during the career enough to have 5 or 10 years without doing nothing. Because just the three, 4 clubs in Portugal, they pay good money. The other clubs, they pay enough for them to spend during the month. So I think it's important to alert these young players, to remind. I think the examples of the past help us and the younger players to don't do the same mistakes than the other guys. I think a lot of Portuguese FA, the Players Union, also some clubs in Portugal are doing that, are in the academy, for example, in Benfica Academy, for example, we did a lot of some lessons to how to save money, how to manage your own money. I'm having difficulties here, sorry. How to manage your own money, because sooner they have that alert, sooner they will learn how to manage, and sooner they will decide for themselves. Because some of the worst mistakes is because the players they give the money, their own money to other people to manage.
All of you are here because of your success as athletes, but also because you have been able to make that successful transition. You have good images. You are role models. Elle, I wanted to ask you about that role model image and feeling the responsibility to pass on what you've learned as a professional to younger players, and also the social responsibility element of the role model with you joining Common Goal. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think we have a very short time to be something that people want to listen to. And they put us on a bit of a pedestal, which we all appreciate, and it helps us in our lives. But I think you have such a short period that you have to give back. And, as a women's footballer, to amend the 1% from Common Goal and to give back to something that was I felt like my duty to help something bigger than myself. And I think socially now we all have platforms. Millions of people can come in with one click, and I think it's important for us to have our morals and to show that we all tie our shoes the same way, and we try to make a world a better place from what we've learned. And it can be a really hard, scary, lonely world, even as a pro footballer. But it's important that we learn what we've taught, and we've sometimes had to learn the hard way to share and give back. And it's not just to footballers, but it's to the world.
Time is running out, and I want to get a final thought from each of you on what you want to do next, what your career goal would be. If you could, you've worked hard to reach your dream of being a top-level professional. You've worked hard to make a transition into a second career, so that's check, check. What's the next check for you in your careers? I'll start with you, Paulo.
No, for me, I have that, when I stopped to probably not at senior level to be a head coach, but maybe an assistant to start and work with someone with more experience for me to learn that side of the coaching, because I love the pitch and I've been having that experience now with the lone players. So before they move out again, we do preseason, so we prepare them for them to go out again. So, and this is something that I've been enjoying a lot. Be on the pitch, help the player, run the sessions, and it's fantastic. But that was something that I would love to, be on the pitch and work with someone maybe with more experience and learn a little bit about that side, because I don't know, looking for my personality and be a more quiet person, and I don't know if I would be a good head coach, or I don't know, but I would love to be in the pitch for sure. I'd love to.
Zidane is kind of quiet. He's done okay, so.
Yeah.
Really okay.
You can do it.
Yeah. Who knows?
Christian, what about you?
Okay, me, as a sport director of Olympiacos, I would like to win the Champions League.
Okay.
And of course, as an investor,
You have a Portuguese coach?
I
So
know.
that's a good start.
Don't worry, we will be there. Where we'll be in Turkey. The next final.
Yeah, Istanbul.
So, rendezvous in Istanbul.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
That's
And
ambitious.
as an investor, to be a successful entrepreneur, also with a sponsor online.
What about you, Nuno?
Well, I'm involved a lot, sometimes with you on TV.
Yeah,
TV
sometimes, that's right.
commentators to Champions League games. I'm doing TV at the moment every Friday night in a Portuguese
Yeah.
channel. But I start also this summer to get involved in my brother's company. He's a football agent, so I'm getting used into that area also, because I was sports director in Benfica in the youth, and now I'm more involved in the company. I will become maybe a football agent. So in fact, I have my business card. It's like that, no? You want to be a coach, right?
I understand it, yeah?
I'll give you. You want?
It's like that, no?
There we go.
Yeah, it's like that.
Obrigado, obrigado.
You know my number already.
You
Paulo.
told me already about.
Yeah, we almost did something this summer.
Well, you know the transfer window's closed, right?
It's closed. It's closed.
Okay.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
These players.
High commission.
Like the logo.
Yes.
I really like the logo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's what I'm doing now, and what I want to do. It's to help, of course, more directionally to the younger players, because I think that also because of that we were talking here during this past hour, because it's a lot of easy money for the young players at the moment, and I think they need a lot of advice in early ages. So even the parents, the young players, the parents. So I think I can help them to stay with the feet on the ground, because I had the same experience, and I have the same dream that they are living now.
Well, if your players want good communications, maybe you can talk to me. You want my business card?
Of course.
We can work together on that.
Work.
Louis, what about you?
As an entrepreneur, I'm a founder of a startup where we want to actually create that safe environment for sportsmen, but let's say the football players, such, because that's my passion. So created a safe environment for them to be facing only the service providers that are vetted. So basically it could be agents, could be lawyers, could be wealth managers, could be brands, nutritionists, whatever. Those are qualified and got diplomas and can be, I would say, on the same way, legitimized to be on that platform, to be facing the stars that need that trust environment, need to face the right advisors. I think on the same way, there is a factor of like putting them on the spot in terms of getting the rating from the stars. those people will actually get credit for their work, for the services, by being on a platform. So I invite any service provider here to actually look at axisstars.com. It helps the stars to really get that kind of understanding, control back. Let's say that by getting some really nice project charity-wise, and be prepared to actually understand what is going on in that planet, and do way much more than they can, because they have the potential, they have the power, but I don't think they use it well, and that's what we provide. And we hope that Nuno, his company, will join, and all the partners that we think that are here for the players and for the sportsmen in general to join in there.
Okay.
That's a good question. I also...
You have time, right? You don't have to have all the answers now.
As women, I think we learn to save a bit more. Maybe it sounds like it because we're not used to having the most. But I think it's important. Also, I want to say before I answer that is, I heard a stat while I was here that in England, I'm not sure about the other federations, but in England, when you are in an academy from 16 to 18, 80% of these boys, by the time they're 23, have nothing to do with football. And that is something that is important for everyone to understand, is that what the percentage of them to make it and to have that is so, if they could understand that, I think it would help everyone to be a little bit better on a better stage and on the same page. And for me, I think as a woman footballer, and to go through and to play in 7 different countries and to try to understand the best in France at PSG and in Sweden and in Wolfsburg to play with the best, I think it's my job, or I hope it's my job, to unite and to be a platform for women that are done playing football, that maybe don't have as much, because we're also a growing industry and we don't pay for, again, that much. So to understand that when you're done football, that we're a community and we can help to try to prepare for what's next. So I have a company, or a co-founder with a guy in England that worked with a bunch of ex-players, professional men, and now he's doing it for women. And we've kind of partnered up to try to create a platform for women when they're done to come together and feel not so alone.
Well, I'd like to wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. You haven't done so badly up until this point, so chances are you will be successful at whatever you do next. Ella, Louis, Nuno, Christian, and Paul, thank you very much for your time, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you, gentlemen and lady.